Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So the audio for this event is broadcasting both by phone and online. The event is lecture only, so your microphones are muted to reduce background noise. To adjust the audio through your computer, you can go to the bottom left of the screen, click the small arrow next to audio settings, and select a speaker. Some viewers get better audio when streaming, while others get better quality by phone. So if you have any audio difficulties, you may want to try a different connection method. You can select the Q&A panel at any time to ask questions during the event. You can also select the closed captioning icon for live captioning in English. And if you want to view captioning in Spanish, you can select the stream text link that will be posted into the chat to view those captions in your browser. So we are going to record this event. So I'm going to start that up and then turn it over to our presenters.
Greetings, and thank you for joining today's call about President Biden's fiscal year 2023 budget request for AmeriCorps. The president has proposed a robust budget for AmeriCorps and our programs, and we are delighted to share the details with you today. We do these calls every year to share the information about the president's budget the day it comes out. In the past, we've done a series of individual calls for each program. This year, we are doing one combined call so everybody can get the same information at the same time. For today's briefing, I am joined by an A team, pun intended, of senior leaders, including our Chief of Staff, our Chief of Program Operations, and our 4 program directors. After we give an overview of the budget, we will open it up for your questions. For those of you who want to go deeper, our full Congressional Budget Justification, or CBJ, is now live on the budget page of our website. Today is an exciting day for another reason. After more than a year of input and discussion, we also released our new 5-year strategic plan. Jenny Mock, our Chief of Staff, will have more to say about that later on in this call. So let me go ahead and get started by saying a few words about the budget process for those of you who may not be familiar. This is a budget proposal, not a final enacted budget. It is the president's requested budget for fiscal year 2023, which starts next fall on October 1st. The budget release is the first step in a lengthy process. The next steps include consideration of budget resolution, action on individual appropriations bills, and ultimately passage of those bills by the House and the Senate. As the saying goes, the president proposes and the Congress disposes. This budget comes on the heels of our 2022 appropriation enacted 10 days ago, which included a $29.5 million increase to fund our operations for the rest of the fiscal year. The 2023 budget builds on the incredible progress we have made since the beginning of the administration, including the historic $1 billion investment provided by the American Rescue Plan. This legislation expanded national service opportunities, supported increases to member living allowances, provided match replacement funds, and expanded our outreach efforts to underserved individuals and communities. The American Rescue Plan also provided the funding for an exciting new chapter in the history of national service that we are launching very soon, Public Health AmeriCorps. This groundbreaking $400 million partnership with the Center for Disease Control will provide much needed surge capacity to meet local public health needs while also building pathways to public health-related careers. These unprecedented investments are a recognition from the highest levels of the critical importance of our mission and the value of our work. When the deadliest pandemic in 100 years struck our country, AmeriCorps was there, providing vaccination support, contact tracing, testing, wellness checks, and other public health support for millions of Americans. And we're still there. When the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression caused millions to lose their jobs, AmeriCorps was there, assisting food banks and meal delivery programs, helping connect the unemployed to job training and counseling, and more. And we're still there. When schools across the country had to shut their doors to keep students and teachers safe, AmeriCorps was there, helping students stay on track through virtual teaching, tutoring, mentoring, and other services. And we are still there. None of this would have happened without you, the dedicated leaders bringing community, and national service to life on the ground by supporting our 250,000 AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers. Thank you for your commitment, for your hard work, for your devotion. We are grateful to be your partners in this mission. Let me talk a little bit about how the budget advances our strategic priorities. To continue our vital work addressing impacts of the pandemic, advancing racial inequity, building climate resilience, and meeting other challenges, we need the resources to do the job, and the President's budget delivers the goods. The President's FY 2023 budget provides $1.34 billion for AmeriCorps. That's a $189 million increase, or a 16% increase, over the 2022 enacted level. It provides increases across every program and every support account. The budget reflects the administration's strong support for national service as a strategy for meeting pressing challenges and building a more equitable future for all Americans. The President's budget reflects the priorities and goals of our new strategic plan. First, the budget will support our goal to alleviate poverty and advance racial equity by supporting more than 250,000 AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers and meeting the most critical issues of our time, addressing public health needs, responding to disasters, and building climate resiliency while also expanding education and economic opportunity. Second, the budget will help enhance the experience of AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers by strengthening pathways to education and employment, removing barriers to service, and providing an increase to member living allowance and volunteer stipend so that national service is a viable opportunity open to Americans of all backgrounds. Third, the budget advances our goal of uniting Americans by bringing them together in service, by strengthening the nation's volunteer sector, elevating awareness of service, supporting governor-appointed state service commissions, and building the capacity of voluntary organizations through the Volunteer Generation Fund and Days of Service. Fourth, the budget will support us in being effective stewards of federal resources by making investments to help us modernize our IT infrastructure, simplify our application and administrative procedures, and make other operational improvements. And last, but certainly not least, this budget will help us strengthen and diversify our workforce, which is so important to maximizing our impact across communities and across the nation. With that, I am now going to turn it over to our fabulous team of program directors to share more details, starting with Sonali Nijawan, Director of AmeriCorps State and National. Sonali, please join us.
Thank you so much, Michael, and greetings, everyone. I agree that it is indeed a very exciting time for national service, and this budget continues the momentum and progress we have made over the last year. AmeriCorps State and National continues to work with state commission partners and national direct grantees to implement the historic investment of ARPA funding, including increasing the minimum living allowance that is so important for advancing our goals of advancing equity and increasing accessibility to recruit a diverse core of members who reflect the people and communities we serve. And as Michael said, we are very excited to launch Public Health AmeriCorps in the very near future. This partnership with the CDC will significantly ramp up our Healthy Futures programming to meet state and local public health needs and create pathways for the public health workforce of the future. Building on those investments, the President's FY 2023 budget provides $557 million to AmeriCorps State and National, an increase of $90.3 million over the 2022 enacted levels. This budget level will support approximately 75,000 AmeriCorps members who will support communities in addressing challenges stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic, economic opportunity, environmental stewardship and climate resilience, and other community needs. With this funding, AmeriCorps State and National will continue to invest in evidence-informed and evidence-based community solutions, providing a source of human capital to meet pressing community needs across the country and a pathway to economic and educational opportunities for Americans who serve. Our state and territory service commissions play a central role in the national service delivery system. In addition to managing the bulk of AmeriCorps grants, commissions identify local needs, conduct outreach, ensure accountability, and lead citizen service efforts in their states and territories. The budget provides $19.5 million, an increase of $444,000 above the 2022 enacted level to build the capacity of state and territory service commissions to conduct outreach and provide oversight, monitoring, and technical assistance and training to support sub-grantees to implement their AmeriCorps programs and support their AmeriCorps members. I'll now pass it to Meg Ansara, Director of AmeriCorps VISTA, to cover the budget for the VISTA program.
Thanks so much, Sonali, and it's great to have a chance to be with all of you. I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into the VISTA numbers. So the budget provides $106.2 million to AmeriCorps VISTA, which is an increase of $5.9 million above the FY22 enacted budget. This funding level will support approximately 7,275 VISTA members. Additionally, American Rescue Plan funding will be used to support approximately 400 more members in FY23, making a grand total of approximately 7,675 members serving in FY23. These members will support communities in overcoming the impacts of the pandemic, provide direct resources to underserved individuals and communities, to advance equity and alleviate poverty, and focus resources to enable a meaningful experience for all those who serve. Thank you again for joining us today, and I'll now turn things over to my colleague, Acting NCCC Director, Jake Schimbati.
All right, thank you, Meg, and hi everyone. It's great to be here. So let's move right along. For AmeriCorps NCCC, the budget provides $37.7 million. That's an increase of $3.2 million over our 2022 enacted level. This funding will support 1,440 members in our traditional program and 640 members in the NCCC FEMA Corps program. So that will be an increase of 80 more members than our current footprint. It will enable NCCC to continue its Summer of Service initiative that we are launching this summer. And that's committing 150 members to climate change mitigation work all across the country. Funding will also be used to strengthen resources for the self-care of members' needs while in service, as we continue to support an ever-expanding behavioral and mental health requirement. The President's budget provides several provisions to strengthen AmeriCorps NCCC program operations. First, would enable AmeriCorps NCCC to engage potential participants ages 18 to 26 for a period of 3 to 6 months, like a season of service, rather than the usual longer 11 to 12 months of service only during the summer months. The second provision would enable AmeriCorps NCCC to keep teams in place beyond the 12-month statutory restriction in order to work on disaster response or recovery or other priority needs around the nation. These are all exciting things for AmeriCorps NCCC. And with that, I'll hand it off to Atalia Sergi, Director of AmeriCorps Seniors.
Thanks, Jake. Good morning to our colleagues in the West, and good afternoon to everyone else. This proposed budget provides $245.1 million in funding for AmeriCorps Seniors, an increase of $14.3 million above the 2022 enacted level for our 3 signature programs, and speaking to the importance of older adult service. This funding will support more than 174,000 Americans age 55 and older in meeting community needs, such as independent living, education, food security, disaster response, economic opportunity, and environmental needs, just to name a few, while also continuing to support service that helps communities recover from the pandemic. The increase of $1.1 million for RSVP will support an estimated 146,000 RSVP volunteers in meeting a wide range of community needs. AmeriCorps Seniors will conduct outreach and target the new funding to communities that don't have AmeriCorps Seniors investments, communities that have experienced persistent poverty, and organizations that serve tribal nations and veterans and military families. The Foster Grandparent Program will receive an increase of $8.9 million to support a stipend increase to $3.65 per hour for more than 19,000 older adults, volunteers who provide support to children and youth in academic and social emotional growth. Likewise, the increase of $4.2 million for the Senior Companion Program will improve benefits for more than 9,000 volunteers. The stipend increase to $3.65 per hour will support the recruitment and retention of volunteers who provide services to help seniors live independently and avoid costly institutional care. Thank you. And now I'd like to hand it off to Anna McCaughey, our Chief of Program Operations.
Thank you, Atalia, and good afternoon. First of all, please excuse my voice. I definitely sound worse than I feel. As a relative newcomer to the agency, I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you a bit about myself and my role at AmeriCorps. I'm originally from Massachusetts, and after college, I served as a VISTA volunteer in the great state of Texas, working with refugees and immigrants. That sparked an over 20-year career supporting underserved communities in the United States and around the world through programs that invest in community-led development, the organizational and technical capacity of local NGOs, and engaging young people as positive agents of change. I am thrilled to have joined AmeriCorps and serve as the Chief of Program Operations. This is my first role in government, and although I have a lot to learn, much of the CPO role and the functions of the agency are very familiar to me. Strategic planning, evidence-based program design, grants management, and monitoring, evaluation, and research. Today, I am here to talk about the Volunteer Generation Fund and days of service. We know volunteers provide enormous economic and social value to our nation. And volunteers often gain as much as they give by learning new skills, learning about their community, experience health and longevity benefits, and experience the profound joy of giving back. And at this time of division and isolation, volunteering provides another critical benefit, helping to heal and unite our communities. Service is a uniting force and a reinforcing cycle. Our research shows volunteers are more likely to get involved in groups, participate in civic organizations, attend public meetings, and do favors for neighbors. One of our top goals in our strategic plan is to unite Americans through service. While all of our programs help strengthen community volunteering to some extent, two have volunteering as a central focus: the Volunteer Generation Fund and Days of Service. I am pleased to share that we are bringing these two important programs under one roof in the Chief of Program Operations immediate office. We are currently in the process of recruiting for and hiring a program manager for volunteer initiatives who will elevate and coordinate these two programs. Once on board, our new manager will reach out to critical stakeholders like you to engage in this important work. So, diving into the numbers. The President's budget provides $6.7 million for the Volunteer Generation Fund that will be used to strengthen volunteer management practices across the country. Funding will be used to support state and territory service commissions with potential expansion to nonprofit organizations, and adopting approaches that strengthen their capacity to recruit and retain volunteers, including skills-based volunteers, and develop strategies to more effectively use volunteers to meet community needs. The budget also provides $3.4 million to support our 2 congressionally designated days of service. AmeriCorps will focus the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service on advancing racial justice and equity solutions, and the September 11th National Day of Service and Remembrance on increasing support for and honoring veterans, military members, and their families, engaging them in service and volunteering, and elevating service that honors and supports first responders. With that, I will turn it over to Jenny Mock, our Chief of Staff.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody. I am thrilled to be here with y'all today and really excited about this budget. I'm going to cover a few remaining budget accounts and then touch on our strategic plan. First, I'm going to start with the National Service Trust. The budget provides $235 million for the trust, an increase of $44.4 million over the 2022 enacted level. These funds are used to provide Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards to eligible AmeriCorps members who complete their terms of service. At a time of rising college costs and student debt, AmeriCorps is making post-secondary education more accessible and affordable. Since the FY 2022 budget enacted earlier this month included a $400 increase in the Pell Grant, making the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award even more valuable. And through our Schools of National Service program, nearly 300 higher education institutions provide match or other incentives to AmeriCorps alums. Moving on to salaries and expenses, the budget provides $114.6 million, an increase of $26.6 million over the 22 enacted level, to support the agency's staffing, information technology, and other core business operations. This funding will enable the agency to continue to invest in people, processes, and technology to ensure responsible management of agency resources, make improvements in our operations, and better serve our grantees and partners in meeting needs across the nation. Additionally, the budget provides an increase of $20 million to establish a civilian climate corps in partnership with other federal agencies. This funding would be used to hire new staff, develop new capacity, and enhance core business functions to successfully stand up this new program. These investments will support grantees' work related to climate resilience, environmental stewardship, and climate mitigation. Next, evaluation. An essential part of increasing our impact in communities and enhancing our value to those who serve is evidence and evaluation. We have to know what works and what can be improved in order to maximize the benefits of national service. That's why we are thrilled that the President's budget provides $6.2 million for evaluation activities, a 51% increase over the 2022 enacted level. This funding will bolster the agency's use of evidence and evaluation to drive program and funding decisions, increase the use of evidence-based approaches in our programs, and support new research on barriers to service, member demographics, and other key topics. Next, we'll turn to our strategic plan and our learning agenda. Another way we will drive greater impact is by focusing our resources and measuring our progress in a coordinated way under the guidance of a new 5-year strategic plan. This plan, which we released today and is on our website, will be the blueprint for our work going forward and was a key factor in developing our 2023 budget. We started working on this plan a year ago by engaging in extended dialogue with staff, grantees, partners, members, volunteers, and others. This plan will provide clarity, direction, and focus on the outcomes that AmeriCorps will prioritize over the next 5 years. In case you have not seen the plan yet, here are our 5-year goals. 1, we will partner with communities to alleviate poverty and advance racial equity. 2, We will enhance the experience for AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps Seniors volunteers. 3, we will unite Americans by bringing them together in service. 4, we will effectively steward federal resources. 5, we will make AmeriCorps one of the best and most equitable places to work in the federal government. These goals will guide us as to how we will make our investments, focus our resources, and measure our success in meeting the multiple challenges facing our communities and our nation. This plan will be a living document that we will update as appropriate to meet changing circumstances and emerging needs where service and volunteering can have an impact. In tandem with the strategic plan, we also released our learning agenda, which provides a learning and evidence-building plan for AmeriCorps to continue responding to our nation's toughest challenges with evidence-based national service interventions. In alignment with our strategic plan, the learning agenda prioritizes the following lines of inquiry. 1, how can the agency increase access and utilization of AmeriCorps resources in underserved communities? 2, how can national service and volunteering be used most effectively to expand educational and economic opportunity to underserved communities? And 3, what new or improved organizational capacities are needed to achieve the strategic goals and objectives? These priorities, in combination with our goals in the strategic plan, will guide the agency from FY 2022 to FY 2026. We won't have time to go deep on the plan today because of the focus of this call is the President's budget. However, I want you to know that we will be holding calls in the near future to discuss the plan and our objectives, our targets, and our strategies to achieve our goals. And now it's time for questions. We did cover a lot of content today, and we did it pretty fast. So I'm sure some of you have questions. And just in case we're not able to get to all of you, please remember, this won't be your only opportunity to weigh in. I'm going to review our questions and likely toss them to my lovely colleagues. First question, is there an update regarding the release of FY22 and ARP volunteer generation funds? Communities across the country need these funds now to recover, and we are ready to work with you to get those funds out the door sooner rather than later. Thank you. Anna.
I'd be happy to try to tackle that one. So for now, the FY22 release should be soon, and that will still be led by AmeriCorps State National. As I said in my remarks, we are hiring for a program manager that will sit within the Chief of Program Operations immediate office. That recruitment is underway. And once we have that new program manager on board, she or he will be engaging with stakeholders and start to frame up the ARP release. And I anticipate that will be in the next couple of months, but we should have a definite time frame and timeline for that shortly. But FY22 should be released soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. The next question is from Blaine. In 2021, there was a 27% drop in my AmeriCorps account creations across the nation compared to 2019, and many programs are struggling with recruitment. Centralized promotion and initial recruitment is one of the most impactful areas AmeriCorps nationally can engage in to support programs. What planning and funding is being considered to improve messaging aimed directly at recruitment? For that, I will turn it over to our Chief of External Affairs, Shri Kulkarni.
Thank you, Jenny. This is a very important question. From the beginning, as soon as ARP was announced, we decided that we wanted to address the issue of recruitment, which we're all concerned with. And so about $4.5 million out of ARP funding was dedicated for specific tasks of recruitment. In particular, we're talking about recruiting people for staff for a centralized recruitment pilot here at headquarters. So we just started with a recruitment manager, and there will be recruitment specialists for each one of the different program streams. And in addition, we'll be bringing on digital specialists, so one for every 2 regions, to work directly with those regions, as well as analytics. On top of that, We're also working together with partners, and so we're looking at all range of partners to try and help amplify what you all are doing out in the field. So whether it's HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, military recruiters, alumni, social media influencers, and in particular, we're working with our vendor to make sure that we get out paid campaigns that'll help magnify your efforts in all the different regions across the country. And we're working as well with commissions to place the PSAs as we've done in the past. On top of that, we want to make sure that we're investing in technology. So things like digital asset management tools that allow us to share digital assets across the country between regions and programs, project management tools, making sure that we're able to get out information in social media, more advanced email campaigns, but also going all the way down to the low tech. So when we're talking about hard copy information, brochures, for example, for seniors, we're trying to make sure that we have the range of tools available for everything that you all need so that we can help you as much as possible here from headquarters. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri. Let's see, the next question. Can you share how many AmeriCorps members are serving with FY20 or FY21 funds across the different AmeriCorps programs, so we know how many more positions you are projecting for FY23? When you say this budget will support approximately 75,000 AmeriCorps state and national members, 7,275 VISTA members, and 2,080 NCCC members, and 174,800 AmeriCorps seniors. Anna, do you want to attempt that?
I wish I had exact figures. We are actually still collecting the data. So I think we would need to follow up with that one once we have actual final numbers, including FY21.
Thank you. The next question. With the cost of services and minimum wage increasing, are there any upcoming plans to provide additional increases to the stipend rate? I will toss that to Atalia.
Hi, thank you, Jenny. So in the proposed budget, we are proposing an increase to the stipend. So we are working towards that $3.65. This is a proposed budget, so I think there are a couple questions and they're asking when would this be available to our volunteers. That wouldn't happen until this budget is actually gone through all of the congressional and all of the signing and all of the negotiations, and then we would see after that what funds we do receive for AmeriCorps seniors, for foster grandparents and senior companions. There was also a question about if we were to increase the stipend to this level, what would that mean for the cost per VSY? That is something that we still need to dig into and to understand what that cost per VSY would be if we're moving or if we're not moving that. So we still have a little bit of work to do on that. As the budget kind of moves through its processes, we will work on that. There was one other additional question about the projections for the numbers for each of the AmeriCorps Seniors programs. We are basing those projections on where we are right now with our programs. We understand that all three of our AmeriCorps Seniors programs are in the process of rebuilding and needing to do a significant amount of recruitment more than normal. So we are basing those numbers on some projections, some math that we were doing to try to figure out where we think we will actually land, knowing that we need several more years to really get back to where we were prior to the pandemic. Thank you.
Thanks, Atalia. I really appreciate that comprehensive overview of many of the questions addressed here. And I think that I will ask Sonali to do the same for AmeriCorps State and National.
Sure, Jenny, happy to do that. Again, I will also just remind folks, as Atalia did, that this is a proposed budget. Very exciting, but still only proposed, and there are many steps before it is our final budget, or before we have our final budget. As has already been shared, it is a priority to the agency that that service opportunities and volunteer opportunities are accessible and a viable opportunity for all Americans and for folks of all backgrounds. And so we continue to think about how we can do that and how we can support to increase the member living allowance and the volunteer stipend, and think about how we incorporate that in focusing on our priority to ensure that everyone has access and the ability to serve. So I will stop there.
Thanks, Sonali. And just because there's some lack of specificity in some of these questions as to which programs people are asking about, I will ask Megan Sara to come on screen and just speak for a moment regarding VISTA and the living allowance.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So I think really similar answer in the sense of expanding access to the program, remains a priority of the program as well as the agency. Right now, the FY23 proposed budget includes basically sort of our annual review of what things, of the process and continued adjustments to the minimum living allowance that's in line with both our statute and policy. And also for VISTA is based in any response to any changes to the federal poverty level.
Thank you, Meg. I know that we have answered a number of these questions sort of in sum. So please bear with me as I scan the rest of the questions. It looks as if the majority of these have been addressed from a more general statement regarding living allowances. Atalia, I will ask you to address the increase in the RSVP line, if you are able. There's a question.
Let me see. I found it. So for RSVP, the funds that are listed in the proposed budget are to do outreach to new communities, communities that have been dealing with persistent poverty, and to also prioritize some funding to tribal nations and to veterans and military families. So those are kind of the priority areas for those additional funds. As it stands right now, the continued match progression for RSVP remains consistent. So 10% in your first year, 20% in your second year, and 30% in the third year and beyond. So that does remain consistent. Please let me know if there is some additional need or additional clarification around that question. Thank you.
Don't go far, Talia. There is another question for you. Does the president's proposed budget include support for existing RSVP programs or solely for expansion into underserved communities?
The funds that are in this proposed budget are for expansion of our footprint into new communities.
Great.
Oh, I will say, Jenny, though, just a nuance on that is current grantees may request additional funds if you want to expand into a new community within your current geography.
That's great. Thank you so much. That looks to be all the answers for these questions that have been submitted. So with that, and there are a number of comments, but not necessarily questions. So thank you for your patience as we do this on the fly. And this, again, isn't your last chance to ask questions. So as you internalize our budget and have more questions, there will be more opportunity for conversation. So with that, I will turn it back over to Michael Smith to close us out.
Thanks, Jenny and team, and thanks to all of you for spending your time today to learn more about our FY 2023 budget. This is a very exciting and important time for national service. Our country faces a series of unprecedented and interconnected challenges where national service can have a real impact. With the resources provided in this budget and working together with our state and local partners and the American people, we can help build a healthier, safer, and more inclusive and equitable future for all Americans. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for all you do to help us get things done for America. I hope you have a great rest of your day.